So once again, welcome, and we are privileged tonight to have Post-Board Commissioner Tony Crow bring us our invocation, and then the Scout Troop, the Girl Scout Troop 6076 that will lead us in our pledge to the flag. Stand if you're able.
Let's pray together. Father, we bow before you this evening, God, and undertake the business of the county. We want to thank you, Father, for that privilege. Father, we thank you for those citizens who have given up their time to take part, God, because they're concerned and they want truly a better county. We thank you for them. Father, we thank you for these men that were elected to do this job, and Father, that they do their very best. We know, God, you're leading guys who will only ask. And Father, we pray now for the remainder of this meeting that God, you'll lead and guide us to keep our minds where they need to be. Father, at the end of this meeting, we'll be careful to say thank you for all good things. It's in Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Color guard attention. Color guard advance. Color guard halt. Color guard prepare to post the colors. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Color guard, post the colors. Color guard, return to rank. Color guard, about face. Color guard, forward march.
Thank you, Troop 6076. Great job. Minutes, actually to adopt the August 14th, 2018 work session minutes, the August 14th, 2018 board meeting minutes, the August 14th, 2018 public hearing minutes. Do I hear a motion? Motion to approve. Approved by Commissioner Collette. Is there a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. 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 Any opposed? Carries 5-0. Under announcement, we do have a meeting date change from Tuesday, September the 11th to Thursday, September 13th to accommodate some training for the administrative section. Invited guests, we have none. Bid awards, we have none. Reports from committees and departments, none. Public participating in agenda items. We'll begin with Joel Larkin, talk on 2010-2018-07 Zulu.
Thank you. My name is Joel Larkin. I'm with Sands Larkin, Upland Valley in Marietta. And I'll be brief. On the application by Wintergreen, during the Planning Commission, there was a recommendation made with a number of stipulations. We've met with the DOT, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we've agreed to revise stipulation number 5. We're going to delete the words at the Bobo Road and Macklin Road intersection, and then change the number 50,000 to 25,000. With those changes, we're in agreement with that stipulation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Larkin.
Thank you.
Donna Colbert to speak on 2018-09Z.
Good evening, Donna Colbert. Thank y'all for letting me speak. Well, it's been a long day, so I'll try to be short. The fact here is that Mr. Lawrence ultimately is responsible for what his business buys. Whether he buys a garbage truck or a piece of property, it's on him whether or not his purchase benefits his company. The fact that he says that a commissioner gave him an okay does not mean that commissioner knew all his plans. So from the board meeting this afternoon, this is my understanding. He now wants 3 garbage trucks with the option to come back to park more. He originally said these trucks would be empty, but now has stated that the dump closes at 4, and any of the things that he has picked up after 4 will be stored in the garbage trucks overnight. He wants to put his garbage cans here still, and now he wants to store appliances, so I understood. Of course, he did state the fence would keep anybody from seeing them, but that's what I understood from today, so I guess I'm not sure how long we store them here. He also said that he could and would wash his trucks at the landfill. They absolutely will not allow that. And I thought that that was going to be the 13th one from the meeting today, was that he could not do that from the zoning meeting, and I do not see that there. And I still haven't heard anything that assures me that all of that oil and paint and nasty, stinky water is not going down the back of his property into the creek and pond. I know that Paulding County has now nothing in the near future about widening that road for the safety issues. I understand that there is a house, and everybody keeps talking about it being Zone B1 that's right beside him. It is right on the property line, but I didn't hear anybody, or if anybody realizes, there's a family that lives there, and he will only be required 15 feet off of that because it is Zone B1. And so those trucks that are full of garbage at night will be parked 15 feet from these people's home. Most of these people do not even have air conditioning that live on this road. A lot of, I'm talking about down at this area. You know, the ones further down, of course they do. But if you go out there and look, you'll see most of those people in the summertime sitting on their front porches, no air. And with garbage trucks parked beside them, the other side, he said he knew there was a well right at the property line. Who wants their well right beside the storage of a garbage truck? I heard Mr. Lawrence today say several times he intended. He intends not to go to the subdivision to the right down at Chestnut Road. However, he said if he got enough business that way, he would. All I see is the man changes with everything that he says. He originally came in here and told people on this road he wanted to park one garbage truck. And it has grew into a huge business. This man has every desire to be a huge businessman. And he's got enough gumption, I believe he can do it. But I don't believe that location is the place for him. I think now, biting the bullet and going ahead and finding him a piece of property that is designed and made for the purpose of his company would be the best thing that happened to him than for us to do anything that's going to jeopardize the rest of the community who has stated that it will put a hardship on us. And so I'm asking you, please, do not punish the rest of this community. He has stated he will make it, and I believe he will. It's not going to put this man out of business. It will be an inconvenience. It will be a learning lesson. It will make him ready for the big business that he will make. But please, do not allow him to come to this property and start disturbing everything here that we've got.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
I'd like to invite Mr. Chris Wheeler to the microphone for his comments, please. Rebecca, are we supposed to have a time limit?
I'm telling you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Chris Wheeler. I live in Oscar Way in Dallas. And I'd just like to speak for a few minutes in support of 2018-09-C and Mr. Lawrence's request to rezone this property. I appreciate Ms. Colbert's comments about trying to find another property, but frankly, that's not up to the citizens to decide what somebody can use their property for and can't. He has a constitutional right, just the same as us, to use his property in a way that he desires that does not put undue harm on his neighbors. I've heard a lot of objections, and I'm just not seeing a list of undue harm that comes up. There's an objection to things trickling down the slope into other people's yards. There's ways to handle that through tort, through regulations, through the marshal's office. That's not allowed in any case, no matter who it is. And I don't see that as a good reason to deny zoning. There's been some objections about trucks going up and down roads. Well, frankly, they're public roads. These trucks are not a whole lot bigger than my minivan. And like I said, they're public roads. The objection about the roads out at Dallas-Ackworth Highway and that area in Bobo Road not being set up properly to accept this traffic. Again, I don't really see in all respect to Mr. Jones and the DOT, the lack of keeping up with the growth of that area as a burden on this property owner. He's agreed to an awful lot when it comes to these stipulations. Frankly, an awful lot that I don't think he should have to agree to. And I would appreciate you considering approving his request to use his property as he sees fit. He's given every indication that he intends to make the property much prettier than it is right now. And he's actually even started on that work before he was told he couldn't do it anymore. So that is all I have to say. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Mr. Claude Gibson to speak on 2018-09 also.
My name is Claude Gibson. I live at 461 Chester Harris Drive. I've been there since 1982. I'm accustomed to waking up in the morning not smelling garbage. I've been up there a long time. I've got a lot of money invested. I'm sorry the man made the wrong investment, but I don't want to wake up and smell that, nor do I want to lose the money I've invested in my property and my work I spent there, as well as all the other neighbors that live there. So I'm sorry, but I'm totally against it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Will Lawrence to speak on 2018-09C also.
Thank you for having me. Just wanted to address a couple of issues. First issue is that this address is 118 Chester Harris Drive, and that's a fair distance from 461, I understand. Another thing is the water runoff issue. I understand there's concern about that, and I appreciate that concern. I've fished in Palmer County waters in Punky Creek. I couldn't tell you how many hundreds of hours I've spent fishing in Punky Creek. I don't want runoff in our waterways either. It's very easy to put in a, I don't know what it's called, pool where you catch the water. There's a retention pond. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Put in a retention pond. There's plenty of room between where I plan on parking trucks and the property line on the farthest downhill side. Put in a retention pond, we can definitely do that. I'd like to speak specifically to the issue of, I believe it's stipulation number 8. If this is approved, and correct me if I'm wrong, stipulation number 8 is about a water main, the responsibility being on me to bring in an 8-inch water main from Dallas-Ackworth Road, is that right? 11-inch water main?
No, it's number 11.
Oh, number 11, I'm sorry. Water main coming in from Dallas Ackworth Road, and it was said this afternoon, I think Mr. Leggett said, have you ever seen a garbage truck catch on fire? And I said, well, not one of mine, but I understand that can happen. And I'd like to say this about that issue. If there's not already enough water power down that road to handle a garbage truck on fire, I believe the county needs to take into consideration whether there's enough water to put out a house if a house was to catch on fire. And the one last thing I'd like to say is that if the road's not wide enough, these garbage trucks are the same width as any other dually, any other truck, a 3500 or a 2500 F-250 that has dual tires on the back. It's the same width as these garbage trucks. These trucks are not the 60,000 pound trucks. I've got one truck that weighs 18,000 and some change, and another weighs 26,000. It's less than 30,000 pounds when it's full. And so these trucks are not any wider than any other dually that can go up and down this road. And we will be going up and down this road on both ends of it, whether they block it off in the middle or whatever they do, because we have a job, and our job is to pick up garbage and serve our customers, to serve this county. So whether we're able to use this land in the manner that we wish to use it, or we have to back up and do something else, we'll still be going up and down this road picking up garbage. And so the width of the road, one of the stipulations is that I give 10 feet to the county. I don't mind doing that at all. I'm more than happy to do that. It's cost prohibitive to require me to put in a water main that stipulation was put in when it was understood that this was going to be a shopping center or a storefront, and that they would need enough water to put out something really big. If they don't have enough water down that road to put out a garbage truck, if it were to catch on fire, they don't have enough water to put out a house. And that shouldn't fall on me to handle that. So that's all I have to say. I'm obviously in favor of passing this change of zoning. Thank you.
I'd like to, it's a little out of order. I don't want you to continue on with it, but I want you just to answer this question.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You talked about, you're good. You talked about the water line, and I hear it in your voice. So are you okay with that stipulation? Or are you not okay because planning and zoning left it in there? And if you're not okay, and this was to pass, because I don't know what this is going to do.
Right.
That stipulation's in there.
I am not okay with that stipulation as it is.
Well, it's in there.
Well,
I think for clarification, he's saying if this remains in there, do you want to move this forward?
no, that has to remain in
Knowing
there.
that you're going to have to do that?
If you can't put an amendment to that stipulation that says that will only be required if I make plans to build a building down there. Because it's not something that do you guys know what 8-inch water main costs?
I'm not being disrespectful.
Right,
at all.
I'm not trying to.
And I'm not going to get into that cost. I wanted to know where you stood, and you
Yes.
let me know where you stood, because I want to be careful. Sometimes people ask for something, they get it, and it wasn't what they wanted.
Right.
So that's what I want to make sure. All of us look at things differently,
Yes, sir.
okay? We know that. But I am somebody that adds to the stipulations.
Okay.
We all, because the way I look at it is when you talk about rezoning, it's about the people that are around it.
Yes.
And because they were there with this zoning, now you're wanting to change the zoning. So that's the type of person I am. But we all come from different backgrounds.
Yes.
But you answered my question. What you've told me, if I understand it correctly, is if this has to stay in there, you don't want this to go on.
That's correct, because if it has to stay in there as it is, it's cost prohibitive, and I can't, under any means, afford to put in a 8-inch water main from Dallas Ackworth to the end of my property.
I understand, but that came up in today's meeting, and that would have been the time to do it, because, to talk about it a little bit more, because they said it was gonna stay in there. And when it comes to, you know, sometimes people call you and say, what are you gonna vote, how are you gonna vote, whatever. I always have something I say. And these guys up here have learned it. Let the process happen.
Yeah.
And the process happened this afternoon, and you were told that was staying in there. I believe in the planning and zoning board, and I believe in what they send us. And
Okay.
if I ever change anything on my part, and I'm only one up here, I add to it.
Okay.
I'm not one that typically takes something away unless we've had some kind of conversation
Sure.
between the 2 and the 7.
Sure.
But you answered my question,
Well-
and so you
What-
don't want this to go through if that has to stay there.
Well, if you can add something to it, you could add that doesn't have to happen unless I build a building that needs that.
I'm not gonna add that.
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure I don't do something that you don't want, but
Right, me too.
I do have my limits.
I'm with you on that. I would have moved forward with that in the meeting, but we only had a certain amount of time, and I was of the understanding that now would be a time that we could talk about that. I was just wrong, I'm mistaken.
You're good, you're good. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Is that all that is signed up?
No, it's not, we got about 8 more.
Is it too late to add one who wants to speak?
No, sir.
Okay, if they signed up now, it's okay.
Sure. You want to give me that?
You want to? I will. Deborah Seaver.
Okay.
Oh, not on this issue, on the, I'd like to say, I forgot to sign in on the zoning of the PRD.
Not on this issue.
I'm sorry.
Well, we're talking about whatever issue you want to right now. That's where we are in the agenda. So.
Oh, it is.
Okay, Mr. Lee Poss, please, if you come forward and speak on 2018-09Z.
Yes, my name is Lee Paz. I'm here to oppose this rezoning on Chester Harris Drive. We built our home here about 12 years ago. Have a gentleman right now who's building a nice home behind me. And the person right next to this lot that's trying to be rezoned, they are redoing that home right now. It's going to be a beautiful home when it's finished. We really don't need this in our neighborhood. You know, zoning should be for the highest and best. This is one of the highest zonings out there, and it's not the best thing for our neighborhood. It's just not what we need on Chester Harris. Chester Harris is coming up now. It's doing better. Things have changed a lot. It's taken a long time to get it to move in the right direction. I think that if this somehow gets approved, that all the stipulations should stay in place, everything you have there. If you're asking for one of the high zonings, you should go by everything that's required. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
Mr. Lynn Poss, come forward. 2018-09Z also.
Hi, thank you for hearing me. My name is Lynn Pops, I'm Lee's wife, but I just want to say, the main thing about this is a neighborhood. This is a community, it's a neighborhood. There is no place here for garbage trucks and garbage that's going to sit here overnight. It's not, there's just no place for it. It's not going to fit in. Nobody wants it. And the reason is, who wants to live beside a garbage truck? And he said the smell, well, there's a restaurant across the street, there's going to be another business over there, there's a church across. It's going to be garbage. At the end of the day, that's what it is. And we live in a neighborhood, a nice neighborhood. So I totally oppose this.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Can I ask you just a question? Where do you live?
840 Chester Harris.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Marshall Barnes, please, on 2018-09Z.
I live over there, but I oppose to it.
You want to come up and sign in?
I signed in already.
You want to come up and speak, sir?
Oh, no.
Mr. Chris Earnhardt of 2018-09Z.
Thank you, sir. I won't take as long as I did this afternoon. I think it's most of you were here this afternoon. I appreciate your time. I do want to reiterate a couple of points, though. Not just about the road, although I know that road issues can be addressed. But the main concern from my point of view is the depreciation in value, which I said earlier today. Right now, conservative number is about 17%, and I've been here for about 20 years, and that's taken 17% away from what I've invested in the equity that I've built in my house. And I don't think anybody here that's shown support would disagree that there would be a decline in value if this was moving literally next door to them, which it is for me. And again, it's easy to support this from far away, but when it's in your backyard, it's difficult. The way I understand, and now that the stipulation question has come up, I would ask for some guidance on this because now I'm kind of confused. There were stipulations that were agreed to today earlier. Those stipulations stick. Am I wrong on that? Okay, we're missing one in there. There's one that's missing. It was the 13th one that was added about washing out the trucks. Donna covered that earlier. So the stipulations, are these stipulations mandated that he has to meet all these requirements before he can start using this facility? Can anyone answer that?
I certainly thought the answer was yes, George.
Yes, any of the stipulations that are placed on a rezoning would be verified by planning and zoning staff through the development review process to verify that they've been met before they would be issued a business license.
Thank you. And there was some discussion about a retention fund, and Mr. Lawrence said he could put one in, no problem. I don't disagree with that. I don't doubt that, but we don't know that for sure. There's not been a study done. There's not been a study of the amount of runoff that will happen due to the clearing and what that retention pond will look like and the buffers that are going to be required of that retention pond. So understand that he said that it could be put in no problem, but I would just caution that we look at that site map after the study. I brought up a point earlier about the clearing of the trees being pushed down the hill. And if y'all are familiar with what this piece of property looks like, here's Chester Harris, top of the hill, and then it slopes down to my land. So all these trees were pushed down the hill. It doesn't make sense to me that he intended to clean those up by pushing them further away from the road and down the hill. So I need that to be addressed as well, that there will be an effort to go back down the hill and get all the stuff that was pushed down the hill back up and away from this lot, because I believe that's a requirement as well. Is there a time limit on how long he has for these stipulations, or he just can't use the land before the stipulations are met? Go ahead.
I would say the same thing, that if this rezoning was approved with these stipulations plus any additional ones, Mr. Lawrence would have to go through the development review process, and that's when the retention pond will be reviewed, as well as all these other stipulations verified for compliance.
Thank you. One last point, the gentleman, or about a point that was made earlier when the gentleman spoke. I understand this is America, we have constitutional rights. This is not a right. This is a process, just as you said earlier. So the process is, we come here, We state our pros and cons, and then y'all decide. So it's not how Mr. Lawrence sees fit. He gets to do whatever he wants to with this land. He gets to ask for permission for B2 zoning, and if the stipulations are met and it's granted, then he gets to use that land for what it is zoned for. But right now, it's not zoned for that, and if you couldn't tell, I'm adamantly opposed to the rezone. And I appreciate your time.
Thanks, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Teresa Costalis is next on 1809Z.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I would like to say just first off that I'm very proud to live on Chester Harris Drive. This is a very historical area, and New Hope in itself is very historical. I happen to live on a piece of property that at one time was hundreds of acres of farmland, and very fortunate to have a little under 5 acres to take care of, and it's a chore. But I am very proud of that piece of property, and everyone below me and even a couple above are very proud of our property, and we take very good care of it, and we honor the history of this particular area. I have nothing against this gentleman personally. He has the right to have a business. I was self-employed myself for 14 years, and we always had big dreams to get bigger. I just don't happen to think that this particular area that he would like to start his business is the right place for him. We struggle with a trailer park, as you all know, exists there. And we, as neighbors, try to pull together to keep anybody that needs help, give them help. If you need your yard cut, we're gonna cut your grass. You know, you got cats running all over the place and they're having babies left and right, we'll help you with that. But garbage trucks, yeah, no. So I think I would like to support him in his business, and I would like to help him grow his business, but I just don't think that that little small 1 acre piece of property that he is trying to do this on is the place for that business. So I am opposed to that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa.
Pamela Lawrence, and I'm assuming it's not on here, but it's also on 0809Z.
Yes, sir. Good evening. I'm Will's wife, and Will's name might be on the side of the garbage truck, but I run this show pretty much. Unfortunately, Will made the decision to purchase this piece of property on Chester Harris. It actually was not my desire for our business to be placed on Chester Harris. Since purchasing that property, we have spoken with the neighbors that I was actually concerned about placing our trucks on unattended. The neighbors are nice people. Joe is the name of the gentleman who lives directly next to our property over there. People have talked about his house, but no one has, mentioned who he is. That's his name. He lives there with his children, his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, and his dogs. He is excited about having Will there to talk to every day. We're going to look over your trucks when you're not here. When are you going to put that fence up? Unfortunately, Joe can't be here. He has dementia, so it was hit or miss as to whether he could show up or not. But I second Will that should this stipulation for the 8-inch pipe coming in not be able to be lifted, it is too costly on us as a small business. It's unfortunate that we were given information that wasn't accurate when we were making a decision to spend the money on this property. We do not have the means to just go buying a bunch of commercial properties all over Paulding County. We purchased one, and it was a pretty big endeavor for us. It was a big leap of faith. I sure do wish we would have known beforehand that it was going to be a big issue. I think it's astounding that it somehow got zoned as Business 1. for a storefront that would have been assumed to have a parking lot that clientele could come and park into, but now it's somehow a concern, the amount of traffic that, when we have 2 trucks, and we're not a new business. We've been in business since 2006. We have grown to the point of 2 trucks in that span of time. So to say that we hope that our business will grow, well, sure. Hopefully we can afford to buy a 3rd truck. Maybe if our dreams are lofty enough, we can put a 4th one on the road. I personally, being the person who's running this business, don't actually want for it to grow past that point. I'm just going to be blatantly honest with you. I don't desire to grow into a BLE or a waste industries. That's not our desire. We just want to serve the folks here in the county to the extent that we feel like we can without it becoming a burden in our lives. We don't allow wet paint. Okay.
Was that time up? I'd like to make a motion in order to finish.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Proceed.
I do appreciate that. Thank you so much. We don't allow wet paint or oil in our trucks. I believe it's actually an ordinance that we're not allowed to carry that in our trucks. If we find it leaking out of our trucks, it's been made clear to me that we could incur a fine if we're found leaking those items out of our truck. Our customers are not allowed to put those items in their cans. Our trucks do not carry water. They are not trucks built to carry liquid. That's not going to be coming back to the property. I understand the concerns. If you don't run a garbage business, if you don't drive a garbage truck, if you've never lived on a property with 2 garbage trucks, then these are not things that, that you know. I know I've lived with them for 12 years. We've brought 3 babies home in this house with 3 garbage trucks. And I might add that we sold that home in 3 days over the asking price, and it sold for twice the value that Will purchased it for. So, Seven Hills isn't hurting with a transfer station in their backyard. I cannot imagine that the value of this property would decrease due to 2 garbage trucks. And that's all that I have to say. Thank you so much for allowing me the time to speak with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan Whitaker, please, on 1809Z.
Good evening, I'm Dan Whitaker, 423 Chester Harris Drive. Appreciate this opportunity. Most of my points have already been spoken about, so I'll be very brief. And one of my larger concerns is property value. A little story that's, when I lived in Florida, we had a 3-legged alligator that was a nuisance. Called game warden, he comes out, and his response to me was, that gator was here before you. And he left. I still stuck with the gator with the nuisance. Well, talk about Seven Hills at the transfer station. The transfer station was there, the dump was there prior to them even building. All of us in Chester Harris have been there a lot longer. And now we're all forced to live with this. And facing the fact of up to a 30% depreciation in property value. I myself, if I was looking at a piece of property, I would walk in and walk back out. So because of that, I am strongly opposed. On the other side, I think I'm going to change my garbage service though. I'm hearing too many good responses. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Brady.
Thank you. Thank you.
Janine Southall, I think is the way you pronounce your name. Also on 1809Z for the record.
Correct. See, we live at 721 Chester Harris Drive, and yeah, we're way down the hill. But this is something that we all have to drive by every day. They're talking about these trucks are only the size of a dually. Apparently, he's never driven down that road with 2 dualies trying to pass each other. They can't. Somebody has to stop, pull into a driveway, and let the other person go by. Yes, his trucks are going to be coming down either way. because he does have customers. But we don't need the added traffic of him coming in and out at the beginning and end of the day. There's enough problems with traffic on that road and at that intersection without having that to add to it. You know, our house is probably the least valuable piece of property there, but it's been going up, and we really don't want to lose that. We can't afford it either. We can't afford to lose what little property value we do have in our property. And this would do it. I mean, you know, we've got people coming down the road and they're making decisions based on our house, based on this property that's going to be there. And they really don't need that for people like Mr. Pose and our other neighbors who have the nice houses. They don't need to lose 30% of their property value because this. And I'm grateful that we have people who are willing to do businesses, grateful to do the garbage business. But this is a residential neighborhood. We know just about everybody on the road. Just about everybody on the road has been there for 10, 15, 20 years. The only people that haven't been on the road there are the ones who are going to be right next to them. And everybody else that's, I heard this afternoon and now, who lives on the road is opposed to this. And the only person that we've heard might be for it, unfortunately has dementia and can't be here. So please take into consideration that the neighbors of this small little community within Paulding County, within Dallas, would like to keep our small little community and the neighbors that we have free of the problems that we feel a business like this would bring in. I was there when I went to the meeting when they rezoned it to the B1. And there wasn't a whole lot of opposition because there weren't a whole lot of people on the road. There's a whole lot more now that we have the subdivision at the end, the two subdivisions at the end. There's a whole lot more traffic since they fixed the road. And it is dangerous on that road. It is dangerous at that intersection. And I'm all for trying to not add to that if we can help it. If there are businesses that are going to go in there since it is zone B1, then there are things they're going to have to do to change it. They're going to have to make it 2 lanes instead of 1.5 lanes and things like that, which will help improve it. So, but, you know, that's why I'm against it, is we just don't need that type of business in a neighborhood like this. I mean, kids riding their bikes up and down the road. There are people walking up and down that road. And with the cemetery there, I mean, this is going to butt up against the back of that cemetery. People don't want their loved ones next to a garbage place. They don't want it in life, they don't want it for their loved ones in death either. So, thank you.
Thank you, Janine.
Thank you.
I'd like to call Ms. Kim Swords up to speak on 1809Z.
It's actually for my personal care home. It's totally subdivision.
You're right, and I apologize.
That's okay. I signed up late. My name is Kim Swords, and I'm actually trying to open up a personal care home on Sweetwater Church Road. It actually belongs to Lloyd Meadows. His nephew-in-law is Andy Ledbetter, and so they have offered me this home to open up for the community. We've been there since March. We brought Lloyd home because of the home that he was in
There was abuse in that home. So we brought Lloyd home to his home. He was actually born in this house, him and his sister. I actually have his sister with me also, and she lives right across the street, but she needs care because she fell and broke her right hip. So she's there with me too. And then later on, we're gonna try to get her place as well, but right now we're just focusing on this one. This has been a life dream of mine ever since I was a little kid, to own my own personal, well, when I was a kid, I wanted to take care of people that couldn't take care of themselves. And then as I grew up, I've always wanted my own personal care home, but I wanted one for the indigent, is where my heart was for the indigent. But then I have seen where there are so many Alzheimer's and dementia residents that are needing a place to go. And that's what I'm providing for, is for Alzheimer's and dementia. I've been working with them for 35 years. I have a lot of experience with them. And I'm just looking to grow in the Palm County area. And I would just like to be given a chance to do that. And that's it.
Ms. Orr, I've got a question. This afternoon, one of the members on the planning and zoning asked about a fence.
Yes.
And you were in agreement to doing that, correct?
Yes. Yeah, we had already discussed that long before any of this.
Okay, for the protection.
Yes.
Okay, it was not put on the stipulations. Would you have a problem if we did put that on the stipulations?
I sure don't. Go
Okay,
ahead.
thank you.
And we are privileged to have Ms. Deborah Severs to speak on who's going to win the Super Bowl this year. She'll tell us what you're going to speak on, I'm sure. PRD.
The Super Bowl. So I want to first of all publicly thank everybody who worked so hard to put together the PRD, what we're trying to put together, and especially Ann. She's been fabulous at getting this all put together. And I think we as a community see that there's some changes that need to be made. We've got a lot of builders coming in, taking advantage of the intent. The intent of PRD many, many years ago when it came into from the R2 to the PRD was to be able to get more density, and then in return the builders were going to give a better product. And that worked for a while, didn't it? But then it stopped working. And we see things now all around the county that I believe all of you guys can agree with me, as well as Ann and some of you out in the audience can agree that the product that's being brought into this county is not really what we want. So it's my understanding that we no longer are going to accept any more PRD zonings, which is great, and that Ann is going to continue working diligently to put together some additional zonings so that we have other choices. But my concern is that there is still a very, not a very lot, there is a lot of PRD still out there. So it's, again, I'm not sure, and maybe I can get some clarification, is how long do we keep this PRD out there and allow them to continue? Does it go, until PRD is all zoned, all built out? Or do we say, from this point that the PRD is expired until X amount of time, if you don't have an LDP, a land disturbance permit, that you can continue building under the old ordinance? I think I'd like to hear that. But if we're going to continue with having have it go just the way that it is, I would like to see, and Ann and I have discussed this a little bit, and I'd like to see if you all can add this to to the PRD, that we want to make sure that we're required immediately, or how immediately as possible, I guess Lonnie would be the one to say that there would be no clear cutting / mass grading and some type of building design standards put on these properties. Because, for example, the property at Westbrook Creek, down the Seven Hills connector. I brought a friend in of 33 years from South Florida coming home from the airport. We drove by there and she said, "What's that, a prison?" So we don't want to continue to build things like that. So if this is just what I'm putting forward to you all. If we can somehow put some type of, keep maybe the PRD the way that it is for now, because we don't want to lose, I guess, the vested rights of someone who, and I can understand, you know, as someone who understands, as a realtor, understands someone buys a specific property for a specific use at a specific zoning, they want to be able to do X with it, right? And then 10 years down the line, they go to build and they realize things have changed. Again, I'm just wanting to be able to add the value to the value of what we're doing there. I think if, you know, Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So if we can't, and that is going to be something that Lonnie is going to have to, I guess, consult and see, but I would like to, I think if we say no clear cutting and mass grading, that they kind of build on the slopes, and then if you add some architectural standards to the property, I think the builders are going to have to build a better product, and I think because cost is going to, the cost to develop is going to justify the cost of the house, and it's going to be a better product.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think you're on the right track, and I want to thank you for staying engaged and prodding those.
Really?
Yes. And I think that our staff is on board with your thought process, so in the future, we'll be working with those.
Well, thank you. Well, and I keep mentioning Ann, I'm very grateful that her and Chris Robinson and Frank and them have taken the time to sit down and listen to me and take the notes. And again, I think the bottom line is we're on the same page. I think we all want the same thing. It's just how do we get there? So I'm going to put that to you all, your brain on how do we get there. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Well, that was 15 people who spoke, and on July 25th, I sat in the Cobb County Board of Commissioners meeting, and over 50 people spoke. The issue was a good one on the budget, so that's why a lot of them did. But, we've got four honored guests, but two of them are scouts here, they're walkers, and they came working on a merit badge. And you didn't ask to speak, Brent, but if you just want to go to the microphone, tell us what you've learned, we'd love to hear. This is how county government, this is how the sausage is made. And
Well put there.
not always pretty.
And you don't have to do anything. How's that?
And the sausage is still getting made.
I've forgotten the brother's name, but we're very happy to have the walkers here tonight. And this is, as I've heard Commissioner Pownell say 100 times, this is how it's done. This is open and transparent government, hopefully. Moving right along to the old business, where we have none, and new business number 1.
Dave, did we get the consent agenda?
No, we didn't. Thank you. Consent agenda is action to approve 3 consent agenda items. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve by Commissioner Collette. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Davis. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Carries 4-1. As I said, no old business, new business. 1 is action to adopt Resolution 18-43, a resolution updating and authorizing 911 charges on telephone service and wireless enhanced 911 charges other than prepaid wireless services, providing an effective date, repealing prior resolution in conflict, and for other purposes. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Pownell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Collette. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries 5-0. New business number 2 is action to adopt Resolution 18-44A, resolution updating and authorizing 911 charges on prepaid wireless services, providing an effective date, repealing prior resolutions in conflict, and for other purposes. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Crowe. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Collette. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Carries 5-0. New business number 3 is action on changes to the Paulding County zoning ordinances, planned residential development zoning district, in action to adopt resolution 18-45, ending the acceptance of new applications to the planned residential development PRD zoning district, and directing staff to create new residential districts for inclusion in the Paulding County zoning ordinance. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Collette and a second by Commissioner Crowe. You gotta be fast around here. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And any opposed? Carries 5-0. Number 4 is action to adopt resolution 18-46, confirming executive session for the purpose of personnel and land acquisition. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner Pownell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries 5-0. Moving to the Planning Commission meeting with the Planning Commission recommendations, 2018-02-SUP, application by Kimberly Swords for a special use permit for a family personal care home for the elderly on approximately 3 acres. Property is located in land lots 566, District 1, Section 3 on the west side of Sweetwater Church Road, east of Baker's Bridge Road at 2042 Sweetwater Church Road in Post 3. The recommendation is approval. The vote was 3-1-1 with 6 stipulations. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve with the 6 stipulations, and I would like to add a 7th. Owner agrees to put up a perimeter fence to ensure the residents' safety.
Here we have a motion by Commissioner Collette to approve with 7 stipulations now. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
A second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries 5-0.
Can I just say real quick, Ms. Swords, people very close to me have been, our family's been touched very closely by Alzheimer's, so thank you for waiting.
2018-07Z, application by Wintergreen Development, LLC, to rezone approximately 30.392 acres from R2 suburban residential to R55 active adult residential zoning district for an age-restricted subdivision subdivision development containing approximately 102 detached home sites. Property is located in land lots 387, 388, 389, District 2, Section 3, northwest side of Charles Hardy Parkway, State Route 120, on the east side of Bobo Road, which is in Post 1. The recommendation is to approve. The vote was 4-0-1 with 19 stipulations. Do I hear a motion?
Yes, sir. I would like to make a motion that we approve this, noting that stipulation number 4 was removed by the Planning Commission, and I would also like this approval to be with the change in stipulation 5 to read, owner-developer agrees to enter into a development agreement with the PCDOT to participate in mitigation to address traffic concerns for road improvements up to $25,000. And that's what Mr. Larkin had said during the time that he spoke.
Okay? You want to read that again, or you good?
Did you get it, Rebecca? Owner-developer agrees to enter into a development agreement with PCDOT to participate in mitigation to address traffic concerns for road improvements up to $25,000.
Here we have a motion and a second. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Collette. Is there any discussion?
I would like to just say just a couple quick things, maybe just one here. Actually, today after the 2 o'clock meeting, I had a couple phone calls because we've had more and more people watch our meetings.
Yeah, actually, they said that, Jeff told me today that we had almost a record number of people watching one of our online meetings was today's planning and zoning meeting.
Which was pretty neat. Both of these folks were at work, so hopefully that was okay that they were doing that. But
We won't tell.
they were at work, and so they were able to do that. But they gave me a call this afternoon, and it came up was them having or not having a second entrance, and they just were concerned. They live around there. They were concerned about the traffic being dumped out on Bobo. And that was their concern, and I wanted to make sure that I at least brought it up. I know we talked about it, and I know the developer talked about it this afternoon. We talked about 120, we talked about the power pole and how much it cost to move that. And I know that you're going to be, there's more work to do when he comes in to do what he needs to do, but we do have some citizens concerned about that we're putting that many more homes there, and they only have one way.
So that will come under review and due process. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? 2018-09Z application by Will C. Lawrence to rezone approximately 1 acre from B1 general business to B2 highway business for commercial business operations and the parking of garbage trucks when not in use. Property is located in land lot 1249, District 3, Section 3, north side of Chester Harris Road, Chester Harris Drive, west of Dallas Ackworth Highway at 118 Chester Harris Drive in Post 4. The recommendation was denial. The vote was 3-2-0 with the 12 stipulations. Do I hear a motion?
I think there were 13.
It's supposed to be 13.
There's one that was added in planning and zoning. Number 13 was about the owner agreed not to wash his trucks or trash cans on property. I'm sorry?
I'd like to explain that.
Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry. Is it okay if Chris comes in?
Yes, sir.
Just want to clarify that while you're seeing 12 instead of 13. The original motion that would have included the 13th stipulation was for an approval. That motion failed. The motion or the recommendation from the planning commission is denial with no stipulations. It's totally denial. These are the remaining staff recommendations if you choose to approve. I hope that clarified.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Chris. So, I'm not going to read the verbiage, but this is a denial. The vote was 3-2-0, and none of the stipulations apply in a denial. So do I hear a motion?
Yes, sir.
Well, what you do is if you guys want to approve it and add stipulations, your motion would include those stipulations as part of it, so that you understand.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve this with a change to stipulation 11 that requires that piping laid along Chester Harris Road before he builds on the property, and in addition of stipulation 13, that the owner developer agrees not to wash trucks or trash cans on the property.
Okay, we have a motion with 13 stipulations. Do you have those, Rebecca? Do I hear a second? Ask one more time, is there anybody that would like to second Commissioner Davis's motion? Hearing none, we will put that motion aside, and I'll ask if there are any other motions on this item.
I'll make a motion to deny.
Commissioner Pownell's made the motion to deny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Collette. Is there any discussion?
I'll have my discussion. The reason for my motion to deny is I listened to everything in the planning and zoning meeting this afternoon, and I'm one that believes in the process, and I think a lot of things came out. Both the owners agreed that they did not want this if those stipulations concerning the water lines were going to be left in. I'm not removing those stipulations because that's comes from staff recommendations. And I'm not going to overrule what staff puts on these things unless we have a lot of discussion and all of us agree together that we're going to remove it. It goes with the property. So that's the reason that I'm making my recommendation to deny, is because I listened to both the owners. And naturally, you listen to everybody else. And you both made it clear that you did not want to have this pass if those stipulations were going to be in there. And I'm not going to remove those. Okay? So sometimes we have to make tough decisions, and half the people aren't happy with you and the other half maybe are. And that's the way it goes.
God's still good either way, man.
Amen.
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 I want to say the same thing. Will called me this afternoon, had a conversation with me not long before the meeting started. He really told me that if number 8 was not removed, number 11 was not removed, I'm sorry, that he just assumed it not pass. And said cost-wise he couldn't afford it if it did. So this is what you have for.
It's been a humbling experience, y'all.
You and I spoke a few days ago, Lawrence, and I did not call you back today.
That's okay.
But it was on purpose. But you answered your question in the text that you sent me. You answered your own question.
Yes, sir.
So we're good.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Before we go any further, you done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to recuse myself due to the fact next month, September 6th, I'll be driving down that road calling it home for 47 years. And tonight, when we get done with this meeting, I'll still call it home. For that purpose, I think I need to abstain from this vote.
I'd like to say a couple things. I could. Todd talks about the process, and the process in planning and zoning is an important one. It's one of the more important boards that we have appointments for. It's the board that makes the recommendation of how you're going to use your land and how your neighbor's going to use his land. And I appreciate the process, and I certainly appreciate the folks that are on the planning and zoning board. This is already zoned B1. This isn't a residential zoning. It's not going from residential to business. It's already zoned for B1. And so the change from B1 to B2 is a different change than from a residential to a business district. And I think that we should be taking that into consideration. The comments have been made that this is a residential neighborhood, and it is correct. There are a lot of houses, a lot of people have been up that road for a long time. Mr. Crowe is a very good friend of mine. I've been to his house on a number of occasions, and I've driven down that road, and I know that there is a community there. The New Hope community is a wonderful place, and people love each other and take care of each other, like one of the folks said here. This part of that road is not zoned residential. And so when you talk about, I think there was a comment made about the highest and best use of the land. I've been there to check this out for this meeting, and I understand that the truck that the gentleman wants to park there hauls garbage on a daily basis. But at the end of the day, what he is proposing is to park a truck on a piece of land that he owns. He's not putting in a landfill. He's not not proposing to cause disruption to do anything that would cause a smell. I went there today and I got out of my car and I walked the property a little bit. And there's a smell there. There is. It smells like trash. I could smell it. It comes from the houses on either side. In one house, there's a pile of trash in the backyard. I understand the arguments of well, we need to protect our neighborhood, and I get and I totally understand that. You've got a guy who owns a piece of property who wants to beautify it and put a fence up around where he's going to park his truck and put an awning on it. He's agreed to put the fence up, and he's agreed not to wash his trucks out. He's agreed not to wash any trash cans out there. In fact, the trash cans would be stored in there on new trash cans. They wouldn't need to be washed out. I don't know what more we can ask of a man in agreement to get along with his neighbors in doing and expanding his business on his property. This is a small business that is doing well in our community. I had made my motion altering number 11. Todd, I appreciate what you're saying about recommendations from staff, and certainly our water staff knows more about water than we do, and the recommendations should be taken very seriously. My motion to alter that was because there's not going to be a building there, and I understand that would be a requirement for a building, and if there were to be a building there, we certainly want a water main going there because we need to be able to do the fire truck that we need to get and use that hydrant. But he's looking to fence in an area of this piece of land and put a shed and an awning and park a couple of trucks. And that's all he's asking to do. So I think it's a property rights issue, and I think he just needs to be allowed to use his property the way he's asking to use. I don't think he's being unreasonable to his neighbors. That's my opinion. I appreciate this board. I know that what I'm saying, a lot of people in this room don't agree with. Maybe some do and some don't. But I will say that I appreciate this board. A lot of times you'll hear or you'll see on the social media that says that this board can't get along and we can't fight and we get along. I can tell you with complete confidence we can have this discussion and go back and forth and disagree very, even if it were to get heated, which I hope it won't get heated, we just don't let it get heated. But we can all walk out of here friends tonight and moving forward with the decision that the board makes. I do appreciate that. If you guys don't see this the way I do, as a property rights issue where the gentleman is looking to use this property, before you vote to deny this, I would ask that we give the gentleman the opportunity to withdraw his application. The reason for that is that if we vote on this property, it can't come back up for a year. And if he chooses to sell the property or do something else with it, he would be stuck waiting a year if we deny. And so if this is going to go, if it's going to be denied by vote, if you feel very firmly on that, I would ask that we give the gentleman the opportunity to withdraw his application before we vote, so that should he need to come back before planning and zoning in the next 12 months, he'll have that option.
Commissioner Crowe is going to recuse himself, and we have a motion and a second for those are up votes. And I was going to vote also to deny. So it is going to pass if we take the vote. Before anything else, though, I would like to just comment on Will and Pam Lawrence. Y'all have been inspirational to me today. We see a young man, you're young, very young in my book, and I understand you got 3 babies, so y'all are out there doing what this county needs, and that's been expressed on both sides of the aisle today, that they respect your work ethic and your business attitude and just the examples of the churches, and picking up trash when the dog messed it up on the road, and we took time to do that. So you're a remarkable citizen for our county, and I just want to recognize that. We have a Chamber of Commerce with a Small Business Alliance, and I intend to get on the phone and see if there's any place in the New Hope area where you could park a couple of trucks that would still be convenient for you. And so kudos.
Okay, well, knowing how Dave votes, and assuming that Todd and Vernon will vote with their motion, would you care to withdraw your application?
Yeah, I would like to withdraw that application. And also, how do I do that?
Come up here. I think you just did.
Just for your information, you can withdraw an application at any time prior to the board taking action on it. So you're still there. You're in the window.
Not by much.
Okay, well, I'd like to withdraw that application, and with that said, I would also like to say thank you for that, David, and what even the opposition said. I'm a crier, y'all, just if you haven't heard already. I've been humbled a lot. Sunday morning in church, the preacher was preaching, and he was preaching about praising God, and I decided I'm going to quit worrying about this. I'm going to do what I'm expected to do, which is work and trust God. And I just got to say it now that I've got to pulpit that He's good to me, and He's been blessed me. And if I never get another blessing, I've been blessed enough already. And I appreciate this. I appreciate Ms. Coward. I appreciate what you said. When you said you think I'll be successful, I do appreciate that. I wish that everybody here can do what I know about this, because I've lived here by that garbage truck 100 feet from my door for 12 years, and I know what it's like, and y'all don't, and I understand that, but I appreciate everybody that's been out, and it's been a good experience for me. And if the blessing I've got today is the only thing I can take away, I'm good.
Thank you.
Madam,
yes, sir.
thank you, Will, for your spirit, in every aspect. I have to recruit myself, and this thing is about to be full. I can talk now. I could not before influence this board.
I know.
These are my neighbors.
I know.
And I wouldn't give you a nickel for a man who wouldn't try to get sell at Walmart, okay? But,
Thanks, Jacob.
no big. I've known the Lawrence family. I've known Will since he was a boy. He just always had a great spirit. I share more of Ron Davis's sentiments than you could possibly know. At the same time, I share some of Todd's thought process, like the people are already here, they live here. They were here first. And I understand their concerns, and sometimes they can be justified, sometimes not. But I just want you to know I appreciate you. This is not about Will Lawrence. I want you to know that.
I know.
You're a fantastic person, fantastic businessman. And when I see you, and I've seen you on our road and other places, you're working, you're hustling. I know you're making a living for your family, and I'm cut out of the same cloth that you are. But thank you so much for having the spirits that you have. I wish everybody had yours, okay?
I know.
So the application has been withdrawn. You may reapply. Maybe Chris has a solid answer for that, but we know it's less than a year.
Reapply next month.
Reapply anytime, tomorrow. Okay.
I'm good.
It's the conclusion of our regular business. Executive session, we have none. We have none of the publics wanted to speak on non-agenda items. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
They didn't know they were coming to church tonight.
Just praise the Lord again.
I make a motion. We adjourn and go home.
Motion to adjourn, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Davis. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Happy Labor Day.